Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on?
How's it going? Just
Pretty.
saying what's up.
Yeah, I'm solid. I'm solid. Just setting everything up, man. It's good that you hopped on SASA real quick.
I'm I'm in LA right now. I'm about to drive to a friend's house. So thanks for the invite, the heads up. It's always last minute, but that's my way though. Last minute. If there's time, it was probably meant to be. It's probably gonna be a really dope conversation today. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, just some little chill, little refreshing. I mean, probably get deep, the usual, but overall, um, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been cool. Um, it's interesting because you know I think I'm actually in a pretty good standing with what I have going on. You know, obviously everything is a process, but
Mhm.
um it's just the surroundings is not the most refreshing thing. So, I think that's become it's one of those things like I've constantly fight with okay, cool, you know, internally you're like, all right, I'm in a pretty solid spot. I got some things going right. Things kind of go my way finally, but uh it doesn't necessarily change what's going on in the outside world and things that, you know, um, you know, that's I guess we could say out of our control, but it sucks to even feel that way. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think especially when it comes to anything evolved around social issues, we think that okay, this is in our control, right? And the more we tell ourselves that, and but it's like there are things in our control, but the things that's out of our control is the things that we really need to be in our control, and um, so that becomes one of those things. But it took me a long time to even get to this point, like because it was like you feel like, all right, I'm be the person that's gonna change the world, and I'm gonna be do this, and I'm gonna do that, and then in the process you kind of fumble within yourself personally. You think that okay, I feel better about myself because I see myself helping other people,
Mhm.
and then and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you think that if you can, even if you do like a 75-25, like I'm 75% help people, and then those residues going to eventually kind of benefit me, that I for things I don't ask for, it just kind of comes my way because good energy will come my way because of that. And then over and over again you can find yourself, you didn't help the earth thrive, and why you keep starting all over and figuring shit out, or you probably get shit on at
Mhm.
the end of the day. And I think that becomes very frustrating. It actually it's ass, it's cheeks, it's trash and ass. That's what it is to me. So, um, what up,
Well,
Billy?
oh,
Billy,
Billy
What's up,
came
fellas? How you guys
in.
doing?
What up, Billy?
What's going on? How you doing, Blue?
Doing well, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. How you
I'm
doing,
good,
Ramon?
man.
Yeah. Trying to keep our head above water, right?
Always.
Yes, sir. How you doing? How you doing, Ramon?
well, uh, for myself, I'm actually I'm actually pretty solid. Like it's one of those things where it's like I've been waiting my whole adult life for certain things to go a certain way. Like ever since I graduated high school, I felt like I just been like obviously you
100
never stop
meters. Turn right
chasing
on Archwood Street.
doing
Then
what you
turn
got to
right.
do, but it's like I'm actually pretty solid. Unfortunately,
Right
like
on Archwood Street.
I was
Then
thinking
turn right on Craft Avenue.
I was thinking about this the other day. So you start reflecting on what you got going on in your life, and then you start, you have family members, especially when it comes to siblings, they kind of have things going on, right? And
Yeah.
then when those things that's going on with your siblings, you when those things kind of happen, it really sucks because it's like, man, it's like I'm in a pretty decent space in my life and going well, and I got siblings that's going through so much. It's kind of like it really sucks because you want them to go have some type of peace or some type of be in a good place where you are, but unfortunately, the circumstances they are in is not available for them to be in those spaces. And so, even though you probably, kind of open up and give yourself availability towards them to help them out and things like that, it just still sucks that they're going through the things they're going through. Like, think about this. Like, even now, imagine, 2020 is a year where some people have really just been, falling off, or some people's kind of been on the come up, right? They probably stumbled into it, or it just happened in this year. It just happened to be like, think about, you moved into a new house and moved to a new city, right?
Yeah.
There's people been getting raises. There's people been moving up at their jobs. And even though you're kind of like, man, I'm glad these things are happening, everything around you is so crazy. It's kind of like, how do you approach it, right? For example, I got a new car a couple months ago, right? No one knows. Like, I've been posting it. You were like, oh, I finally got a new car. Instead of driving the 2002 Tahoe I didn't have with 200,000 miles with no air conditioning. And I finally, Sarah's able to, surprise me and like, you deserve this. And I get a newer vehicle, that's great to hold all my equipment and help the business and continue thriving. But it's like, I'm kind of naturally like that as it is, but it's just one of those things where you kind of like, damn, you don't really know how to approach it, just because, like, some people in the process where they might lose their car because they haven't been working, so you kind of fight with yourself with that. But I mean, for me, I'm always humble and thankful. So it's like, I mean, I don't really care to brag anyway, but you just like, man, I feel good. It feels good to have air conditioning going to this event. Like, sometimes you just feel that way. But yeah, it's all been part of a process, and so yeah. But yeah, man. Well, before we get deep, how's Detroit, Billy?
Man, Michigan is nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I really do like Michigan. Detroit is, not to get deep, but Detroit, like, as a city, reminds me of me. Like, I feel like it's a city that has potential, but it's always been kind of forgotten about, right? Like, it's like this forgotten about city that hasn't developed into its potential. And so I relate to Detroit in a lot of ways. It's a good city. However, it's been abandoned, man. Like, when you really talk about an abandoned city that's really been forgotten about, in Detroit's heyday, they've had 5 million people, like 5 million people in Detroit. And right now, reports are they're between 800,000 people and a million. So you think that this city that used to home 5 million people now homes 100 or 800,000 people. There's a huge abandonment. And when you go to the parts of the city that aren't developed, you can really see like where it used to be. I mean, I drove down the block that Motown, where Motown Records were. And it was just amazing to see, like, oh my gosh, first of all, it's all abandoned and it's all crazy to see, but you're just like, man, there was so much history here. But aside of that, where I'm at, I'm in a suburb, about 30 minutes out from the city. It's a good little suburb. It's nice, and I'm enjoying my time here, man. So I feel blessed. Another experience. So I feel blessed every day.
Well, I know once upon a time, Detroit was the booming city that was supposed to be metropolis at one time. The way people viewed it. I think a lot of from what I was remember here listening to something where it's like the way a lot of those buildings were built and the way downtown was built, it was kind of like, at the time it happened, I don't remember what like decade it was. It was like 50s, 60s, something like that. But it was like, it looked very promising. Like, yeah, this was the future because, you had everything going on, thriving. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think the Midwest in general was like that, especially post, I say post slavery and Jim Crow, especially a lot of things going on in the South. Black people went to the North because they was like, okay, some things booming going on, and and then you kind of look at it now. They got those things get snatched from those cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit.
Chicago, I mean, Detroit was on the level of it was a Chicago, it was a metro. It was a huge metro for America. I mean, if, like I said, 5 million people. That's a borough. That's a New York borough right there. So like it was a mega city. So it's ran by the automotive industry, and when the automotive industry crashed, Detroit crashed, and it is what it is. But there's a lot of rebuilding and a lot of reframing of Detroit. I'll tell you what, there's Michigan is hard to beat in the summertime. They say you're always like within 6 miles of a body of water. It's truly the Great Lakes state. It's a beautiful state. There's so many beaches. I've got like 6 beaches next to my house, and they're all just to die for. They're beautiful, man. So right now I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but ask me again in January.
Yes. That's comedy right there. So I guess I kind of fam, I finally created this page, my page for the podcast on Facebook,
Oh, nice.
right? So
What's it called?
let's just this the podcast is Never That Simple with Ramone, and I have like got a lot of people to like it and things like. And I was like, I want to make it official, post videos from, and I finally uploaded the videos we've been doing like the last 3 months on YouTube, right? And so I have it saved, but I haven't posted the George Floyd one where that was knee deep. Like it was knee deep for all of us. But anyway, so I was trying to tag you in something, and I was like, why this thing denying me? I was like, what's going on? And at first I was kind of thinking like, yo, because it kept, I was like, and I was like, damn, if I'm getting his last name wrong, like what's going on? So I try to like go, the messenger message you, and then like, all right, let me check the profile, yes, I start stalking. No, but and so I was like, oh, wasn't, and I was like, dang, that's crazy. You must have, I understand like shit. Sometimes we all get a point where it's like, I'm about to disconnect this shit. And so, seeing that, it was just like, okay, because I think we all need that sometimes. For me, I just like, to be honest with you, my phone, I don't even have the app. Like, in order for me to check Facebook or Twitter or even get notifications, I have to personally log in and go in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I put myself through a process to do it instead of like just click.
It's
But
interesting.
yeah, it's the only thing I have where it's an app is Instagram, because Instagram on web browser is cheeks. So like with the way you upload, even Facebook and Twitter, like I don't have Facebook, Twitter, and or anything else. I have to like go under my web browser to pull it up on my phone. But yeah, when I seen the thing, it was just kind of like, okay. And so I know a few people are have been mentally preparing themselves for today, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, even as we mentally prepare ourselves for the verdict, it's like, okay, it just sucks that, I mean, it was just whatever the term is after that, as usual, right? It was like, okay, and so I feel like sometimes the only thing people can respond, and the only reason I think people are not being this way is because it's energy they don't want to put out in the world. It's they want to continue having this pure internal positivity by not saying, you know what, man, fuck the police, or saying, man, you know what, hope somebody get their chest caved in, or I hope they burn their whole, like, no one wants to really kind of publicly say that because they feel like that's energy I don't want to put out there, even though, because we can sit here and say, well, look, right now, how do you feel, man? I just can't put it into words, because the words we want to put it in, because everything else doesn't work. We can put big words. We can sit here and say, man, we just got to keep going. We got to keep fighting. It's a marathon. This is like, fam, sometimes it's like, it's hard to really just say some really fucked up shit, and deservingly so. I feel that way. Like, I feel like, look, you just, in your mind, you want to tell yourself publicly in post, fuck every single last one of y'all, and I hope y'all get kicked in the chest. Like, it just, you want to say some really even worse than that, just because it's, people are still trying to kind of like have some benefit of the doubt, like, well, maybe there's a chance. And it's like, fam, there's no chance. And so in the process of kind of comprehending, like, yo, there's no chance, then you kind of go from there. Okay. So then you just put words and keep things in perspective. Like, look, someone died in their sleep, and it wasn't because they died in their sleep. You know what I'm saying? That's the situation. The mom was brought in for investigation, and they asked the mom, "Oh, do she know anyone that would do something like this to her? What about the boyfriend?" Which means that you was just trying to figure out a name so you could put that on someone else. You were doing the pure fuckery, and in the process, everything that has happened has ended where everybody knew, like, yeah. And the only thing we can sit there do, like, I had to do a run this morning. I just got in the car and just drove, got a couple things. And that's the only thing you kind of do. Because why? I can't go on Facebook and say some really fucked up shit. That's have friends. Well, I know that you feel this way and these things are happening, but, you know, you just have to come to realize this is not the way. We're talking about dead bodies, and y'all worried about maybe me saying some fucked up shit because people got friends who are police. Like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is where we are right now. And so,
why are we there?
and to me, that's the crazy part where it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and I you know, it's like, why are we here? And everything evolved around it. I just looked at it like, look, I feel I like talking about things because I enjoy the process of discussing these things. But, you know, I remember it's like, there are things that people want me to give a damn about, and I give a damn about it not to be a detriment, but I really don't give a fuck about it because it's like, you know, it's just one of those things, man. Like, I feel like some of these things is like telling me, Ramone, take 5-pound dumbbells and do do some lift it like you bench pressing. It's kind of like, this ain't helping, man. They're like, that's basically what it is to me. There's no workout. I know I'm not gonna work a sweat. I'm just moving my arms. That's all I'm doing. You know, and I think that's just the way it feels. And so I'm not really numb. I'm still desensitized to everything. It's just, I think that's why you might have the extreme people that feel like, yo, man, let's start a black NRA. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's really, you know, because sometimes, like, I mean, people gonna go to Sunday and pray at church, and people are going to hope and wishes. People continue to march and continue to put pressure. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. It just sucks because even I listen to something's gonna be a marathon. I was like, yo, fam, this is not just a simple 24K or whatever the marathon is. This is Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? This is a Iron Man race where where you got to swim, then bike, then run, maybe crawl on your knees in order to get to the finish line. And that's basically what it more feels like. I know it's more fundamental things that's deeper than that, but that's just kind of a general outlook. And so,
Yeah,
Do
man.
you think people see that? Do you think people see that outlook?
no, because I don't trust people to comprehend and be intellectually savvy to know that. I think the way I view people and the way they think is, I know it's a weird thing, but remember, like, the process of what you had to do to build your MySpace page, and you had to do a lot. You almost had to learn how to do web design. You had to learn how to copy and paste inside the thing to make your page look a certain way. And so that to me was the process of people putting in work to show their personality, to show their page, to have the music and the pictures. That's what I liked about MySpace. The reason why people went to Facebook
Problem
was,
solving.
yeah, the reason why people go to Facebook was it was easily accessible. I can get my rocks off. I can say whatever and just put my name's this I went to school to, and blah, blah, blah. And then you be able to get it off, and it was easy and simple. And I feel the same way when I talk about sports or politics or anything else. People just want to have the ability to kind of, all right, let me do the communication version of 150 words or some shit, and then just say it and then move around with no real nuance, no real perspective to it. And I think that's why I don't trust, you know, like, I mean, majority of people, that's why I only follow people on Twitter. Like I can control who I follow on Instagram and Twitter compared to Facebook. You can't control you know, who you follow on Facebook, but that's like family members or people you come across and you kind of realize, oh shit, you kind of trash. But I don't have to worry about that for Instagram and Twitter because those people I chose to be informed from and with. So yeah, like you like follow, you know, to answer your question. No, I don't maybe, and I think even if they did, they don't really want to because like, you know, people I don't yeah. Fuck it. That's pretty much just I'm long-winded it, but yeah.
I think it's interesting. For
No,
me,
that's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me, why? So to go to your first kind of point where talking about Facebook, so for everybody watching, I deactivated my Facebook, right? So nothing that's groundbreaking, right? But I just deactivated my Facebook. I've had Facebook since 2006. So right after they decided to take Facebook public, and it came off of just Harvard, and they started to include other schools that weren't Ivy League schools. That's when I got onto Facebook. And really, I've come up with, like, you had to have a school, and I still have my school email to log into Facebook because you couldn't get into Facebook without a school email. And for me, Facebook started out, it started out just as like a way to meet people. Really, if I'm gonna be honest, it started out as a way to meet girls, and that's what we was using it for. And then over the years, it came like more of a connection tool, and it came as a place just to like reconnect with people that I went to high school with, reconnect with old friends, then finally reconnect with family. And so it's always been like this place where you just go down memory lane and you connect and share thoughts. Well, recently for me, man, it was this year really. I was like, man, all the people who I love, the people who I care about, some of my friends, like I've noticed that, you know, everybody has their own opinions on certain things, which is good. And I'm learning from different people and I'm learning the way that they're looking at life. But I'm increasingly seeing negative images. I'm increasingly feeding my soul with negative articles and very little hope. So if one person posts something that's negative, and then another person posts something that's negative, like it just is a constant source of negativity. And for me, like, I guess for me, it became a point where I would wake up, and I'm a super user. So I wake up, I look at my Facebook, I get a lot of news from Facebook, and I am definitely a super user. So one day I woke up in the morning, naturally picked up my phone and started looking at Facebook. And the first article, I can't remember what it was, but the first article was something that was just so blatantly negative. And I was like, geez, like this is just a never ending cycle. And I found myself feeling really diminished, and I don't want to say depressed, but I just like, I just found my space. I found myself in a space of just negativity. And like, I had to shake that spirit of negativity off of me, if you will. And so, you know, deactivating my Facebook just for, it's probably day 4 now. I got to tell you, it's night and day difference. Like I'm a big believer, like I'm a very optimistic person. Like, and I heard somebody else say this, but I take on this, like, my religion is truly love. Like I'm in the religion of love, and the book that I study from is the book of truth, right? Like that's like I study from the book of truth and I practice love. That's what it is for me. And for me, Facebook is like the opposite of that, right? Like it's like the book of lies and the religion is hate. And I was like, this is completely opposite than what I'm trying to be. And so me deactivating has been good for my spirit. I definitely will reactivate it. You know, once I reactivate it, I'm gonna be able to separate a little bit better than I was historically. But I just needed to give myself a mental break of what I was putting into my ecosystem.
Yeah. You know, I think that is like the wisest thing anyone can do. I think sometimes, you know, I think we all should kind of reevaluate, and it shouldn't have to be like extreme things to attach. It's kind of like, you know how like people think that if you are having a really shitty day, you should do therapy. You should do therapy if you're having a good day, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
the same thing when it comes to social media, where it's like, yo, even if you're having a good day, it's kind of like, no, I ain't gonna fuck with it anyway. Like, you know, and I know sometimes we want to put ourselves to be in a good space so we'll be prepared to have the energy to go on social media. It's like, you know what, fuck it. Still not gonna do it, you know. Um, and I remember doing something like that years ago when it got to the point where I didn't have to wake up early at a certain time and do this and do that. I literally kind of turn my phone into what I think it should be, and that's just to attach myself to what's going on. But my Sarah gets upset, but my ringer's never on. If I get text message, I don't know. I don't, it might vibrate, but I don't have a ringtone for a text message. I erased my Facebook app and Twitter app probably like a year ago. Um, I erased all my email apps, so I have to go to my website or be on my laptop checking the emails because it's so like the idea that everywhere you go, you always hear your phone make some type of sound. And you just be checking like, oh, and that shit is just trash. Let's keep it. That shit is trash. And I remember having this discussion. I remember Justin saying years ago, he was like, the problem is people like if you have a wife and kids, so it's a little different. But hey, I don't always have to be accessible to answer your phone every time you call me. Like every time, like back in the day, it's like, if I go somewhere, I'll call you when I get back to the crib or when I get somewhere that has a phone to talk to you. But for everything, every piece of thing, and that patience kind of went out the door. And even though, we still be on our phones and check it a lot, see what's going on. And it's like, even though if I check it a lot now, the fact that I silenced my phone 90% of the time and I don't have any notifications through Facebook Messenger app or through my, like I don't really have the app, so it's not like it give me notifications. That is a game changer for me. You know what I'm saying? I manually have to go check myself. And sometimes that can kind of suck because when you bored, you keep going the same thing. Like it's kind of funny where you be on your phone and you be on your laptop, right? And I be on my phone on Facebook and I just close the browser down and I go right on my laptop and do Facebook again. Like I'm just see something different. Like, oh, a notification popped up out of nowhere. So I think just I've learned about the little things, and I've always kind of been that way. Is just actually putting those things into motion. Do the little things that kind of help yourself out, your sanity. Um, and so, it helps out a lot, especially because part of where we've been able to connect with so many people in so many different ways, this thing can drag you apart. And it's so unfortunate. I know, and I don't look at the like younger generation of kids or anything as worse than ever because I feel like if my mom and dad had social media, they'd probably be the same way with some of the drama that was going on. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different. Like I can't believe this nigga just said like it'd be the same way. But because I think that's just human nature. That's like whatever you have. Like they had beepers was wilding out. Like you know what I'm saying. So, but you know, what do y'all think? What do y'all think for yourself, and what can we learn from this current situation? And how do we process moving forward? Because there's going to be a lot of people that's involved is going to continue saying the different things, especially when it comes to voting, when it comes to making sure you get the right people in these offices. But sometimes it don't even matter. I think Louisville have like you can have the mayor and the judge and the governor of Kentucky, and they can all be the things. Like it's kind of not really. I don't think this way, but people feel like, man, Joe Biden's office was really going to change. Like there's some people who just look at like hypothetically shit probably won't change. It just feels, but the packaging, it might be a little shinier than, you know what I'm saying? Like you've always said, right? And so I wonder, how do we process everything now? What are we learning from this? Because obviously the intelligent people that's knee deep in this, they're going to continue doing other things. But people like us is kind of like, Well, I mean, I think it comes more down to our sanity and the type of things we're going to preach to other people.
You want to go first, Billy?
I don't know, man. I'm in a weird space to answer that question, right? Like I'm in a weird, that's the $1 million question. Like what are we going to take from this? How are we going to move forward from this? How are we going to move forward from this year? How are we going to move forward? I don't know that I think of this, right? There's nothing new under the sun. So I think of that often, right? And I think that we're not the first to experience what we're going through the way that we're the first to experience with technology and the way things are moving, but some of these same historical issues as far as injustices and just the way that social media makes there's certain things that we're going through that our ancestors and people before us have gone through, and they've had to deal with it in their own ways. You know what? This is gonna sound so corny, and this is just where I'm at right now, Ramone. Like, it's gonna sound corny, but it's where I'm at. I think we need to get, like, I know it's gonna sound corny, and I feel silly even saying it, but this is what I believe. We got to get back to loving each other. Like, we've got to get back to a place where we have respect for each other and where we truly have a love for each other. And right now, we don't have that as a country. We don't have that as a people. And until we have that, I just think that there's only one thing that's going to happen if you really think about this. If you think about history, and we learn from history, if we don't love each other, then we separate. Once we separate, there's got to be some kind of conflict that creates a separation. And once that conflict happens, and left goes left, right goes right, left begins to love themselves, and right loves themselves, and they go on their merry way, right? But then again, as they move forward, left will need to divide again at some point in time, because love is going to be lost. Think about this, 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, the best, if you really, and I've been thinking a lot about this, but one of the worst things that ever happened in my adult life to this country brought this country together in a way that I've never seen it brought together. Because, like, our united love for each other due to this hate, like this hateful act that happened to our country, brought us together. That love brought us together. Yeah. Like, so, and that's when America was like, when people say what's the best time as an American citizen since I've been born, I think of probably after 9/11, when everybody was like on the same page. But then, we moved away from that. So until we start to really love and respect each other, I think we're going to be in for a wild ride.
So real quick before you go, Blue, can I challenge that thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't really ever think that love was ever an equation. Ever. I just
really
never. No, because
why? Well, first, wait. Let me. What is your definition of love? Like, how are you looking at the word love?
Well, see, the thing about it is the way this country functions when it comes to love, and it's always been this way, is there will be a disenfranchised group of people that will not be as vocal as they should. That's why the 90s was such an interesting time. With everything that happened in the 60s and the 70s, and then some things going on in the 80s, the reason why besides music and technology starting to boom and things like that, people start making more money, the food start tasting better or whatever that was going on in the 90s. The reason why people felt the way about the 90s because everything just felt kind of relaxed. You had a few things going on like the OJ trial and the Rodney King, but it wasn't as like, it was like that was just a piece that happened and you just kind of go from there. And we all felt like, oh, okay, well, I mean, at least it's not the 60s, right? And so I think now.
Let me clarify my point. When I say love, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive to the point that I think that Black Americans were loved equally as white Americans. I'm not naive to the point that I think everybody was hunky-dory. Like, I'm not, that's not where I'm trying.
We're talking about like the general tenseness of everything right now.
The general feel of America. Now, there could have been a nonchalantness. It could have been like an abused lover, right? Like Black people have been getting abused since day one. I'm not gonna dispute that, and I'm not gonna act like Black people have been loved in America. That's not what I'm trying to articulate. Yeah. What I'm saying is the general harmony of America was love, and that was by the majority. Now, if you look at the majority, who are white people, there's a disconnect in the majority, right? So there's a disconnect in the majority because half of the majority, and I use half loosely, but a lot of the majority are becoming woke to the disenfranchisement and the abuse of minority groups. Now that there's an unsettledness that needs to get answered, until they feel like everything's back in harmony, the country is going to be where it's at, right?
See, I think this country right now is post Selma situation, and I say that is when you see the movie Selma, you hear the stories. What happened was a lot of, and they always talk about this when people seen on TV what happened in Selma. It was like white America was like, oh my God, I can't believe these police just did that to these people who marched peacefully across the bridge, right? That was like the point of why King and everyone else did what they did, to prove a point for people to see that. The thing was that after those things happen, and then you give it a few years later, everybody started referring back to what they really was on, right? Like right now, we're just in a time where people they're digging in a deeper place they couldn't 4 years ago. That's why you might see Kirk Herbstreit, some of the things he used to say, and he was on college football the first week of the season, very emotional, talking about just like, we have to listen. We have, you know what I mean? Like they got to this point, right? So I think that's why people finally kind of crossed over. It's kind of like, to me, somebody mentioned this, and it's kind of a reference to when Washington hired the black dude to be general manager, right? And it's like, okay, this is accomplishment for black people. But the thing is black people have always been prepared to be in that position. This was accomplishment for white people because they finally decided to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of what's been going on is an accomplishment for a lot of white people. It's like, wow, we finally got them over that hill to see, no, look at this, look at the landscape for real. So I think that's, my bad.
You're 100. I mean, I'm not, everything you're saying is true. And even with my theory of this love, right? Like, I'm not naive. It's going to be, unfortunately, we got people who are woke, and that's the term that we're using. And how long are they going to be woke, or when is it going to be, when everybody decides, okay, this is good enough? And even when we decide this is good enough, it's probably not going to be good enough.
Maybe that's my problem.
We get back,
maybe that's my problem. I don't ever feel like anything's ever good enough.
Well, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and this is where I go to these, I got to be positive, but in my opinion, capitalism and the way that the country was created and founded will never create an environment that's inclusive and fair for everyone.
I'm glad you said that. Remember this word, capitalism, because I actually had a theory about capitalism and how it is part of every day, but it's somewhat a detriment to exactly what we've been talking about. But just remember capitalism so I can refer back to it. Blue, you was about to say something. My bad.
Well, I really like this topic, and I like, Billy, like I like how you be clarifying before somebody moves forward with someone. Mo, when you said let me say something before you go, Blue, and then you said let me go against that real quick. And Billy, you said well, how do you define love though? Let's just make sure we clarify. Let's make sure we're on the same page. See, that right there, right? Let's just talk about this real quick. That was able to happen during 9/11 more so in America's history than ever before. People were able to have an opinion and then be able to ask and not be offended. So that's what that love energy was. I feel you, Billy.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. Here's my thing. I would ask the question, why does, I think that would resonate with 99% of the population. That's why it was so corny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would resonate with 99% of the population. That's why it was corny. And then I'm going, okay, well, why would that resonate with 99% of the population? It's because there's something about that doesn't need identity to define it.
Yep.
Okay. So when you said that, Mo, like when you asked the question, my brain went to kind of what you're doing, Mo. What you're doing is you're creating something to be a solution. I think it's going through its journey. I think what you're creating is going to be a solution for us to be able to have that type of thing be the norm. So my connection to that, because my name is Blue Yogi, is what does love mean to people? It's really that expansion of being feeling safe no matter what. And I'm able, well, that goes under, and I'm able to voice myself no matter what. Me being able to be vulnerable, but also I don't have to be scared that other people are or not, they are or are not vulnerable around me. The reason I have so much love for you, Mo, why do we have so much love? Because you can say anything in front of me and I won't say nothing. I won't judge you.
Yep.
Because it's not about the saying something, because I'm gonna say something. I can say something because I'm your boy. But it's not gonna come from a judgy place. And then vice versa, I know you're not going to take it from a judgy place. So it makes me feel very comfortable to be able to say it. That's love.
That's love.
So for me, this aligns with what is your version of spirituality? Or what is your version of feeling fulfilled? So the solution is we need to have a conversation of what success means. Like, what does it mean to, like, for me, I don't have a lot of money or anything like that, but I feel the happiest that I've ever felt. I was in the military getting a check every 2 weeks. Didn't care. I feel more happy now. So my success, I could be happy, but somebody else, my boys or people can come around. When I was homeless for 2 years, there was more people hating me being homeless more than I was. Like, I didn't hate it, but they was hating more for me. So they was poisoning themselves for something that I was okay with. So what I'm trying to say is we need to redefine success, because Billy, you said something earlier that was really interesting to me, because when I hear you, when I'm listening to you, I would say that this person's journey is only defined by him. It's not defined by nobody else.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that or no?
I agree.
Okay, so what's dope to me is you said something earlier, and it was around the lines of, I'm not where, or it was basically like, you have an idea of success, but because of the status quo, because it's not reached yet, the words out of your mouth came was, hey, I'm not there yet, so I can't really speak on something. I believe it's a humble thing, to be honest. I believe it's a humble place. But at the same time, I'm so curious about the language that we use when we're defining where we are in our life right now. I know that if I go on with my journey, I'm going to have like a house and some other stuff. But success for me right now is me having nothing. So my definition will keep me like this, because I'm not comparing it to nothing else. Consciously or subconsciously, because I think the reason why we fight with each other is because we unconsciously compare ourselves with something else. I was watching an interview and it was talking about the rap industry. If I said I was a rapper right now, most people would be like, okay, well, where your car at? Where your jewelry at? A lot, people who kind of more aware, they already know that don't matter no more, right? But in general, that's just what it is. So if I compare myself in that way as a rapper, I'm now damaging myself and how I can communicate with other people, because I'm not being my true self, actually. So what I'm saying is, subconsciously, we don't love ourselves. But a lot of us, we don't have the conversation of what you do, Billy, which is define that for me real quick. We don't do that. We just assume that it means nice cars and having jewelry.
Yeah.
We don't say like, well, what does it mean to you? Oh, well, my version is more like Chance the Rapper, just one chain. But we don't do that. That's not the norm.
No, you're
And
right.
so to answer the long, short answer to the question is, I think we need to have a conversation about how do we define love to ourselves, and is it coming from us comparing, or is it coming from self-love? Because once we learn how to self-love, we automatically love other shit. I love the shit out of you motherfuckers because I love myself so much. Because I know I'm a piece of life. I'm not this mind and this body. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my thoughts. But I know that. Most people, they philosophize about it, but they don't know it. I know that I'm part of God's creation. So how can you be upset if you know you're a part of God's creation? You feel me? Like if it's a living, breathing thing for you because you're a conscious being. You get to choose your emotions at every single moment. You get to choose if you're going to be pleasurable or not pleasurable. So once again, going to the answer, it's like learning how to do that for ourselves, like learning how to do that self-love, because now you're just the emanation of love without letting the mind say like, is it good enough in any type of form? Like Mo, if Mo is emoting love, who cares if the world can see it or not? Mo just knows he's emoting love. Because now when he interacts with stuff, only love will be emoting, not the understanding of, oh, I can still see the world's fucked up. Because once we come from that place, now we're tainting our own love. Does that make sense, or am I crazy?
No, you're right on.
No, fam. Yeah,
You're right on.
Okay,
makes sense.
okay, because I don't okay.
Yeah.
Because like that's really important to me right now. Because like it's like the key, and that's where I got two kids, and that's what I'm teaching them. Like no matter, like my daughter, she's doing gymnastics, and if she wants to change to like sell slime or do something else, I'm letting her know like the changing part. Okay, society probably will say something about that, but just know that if it feels right in you, stick to something. If it feels like you're just giving, like you're stopping it because, oh, it's hard, then don't stop for that reason. Keep going. Stuff's gonna be hard. It's gonna feel hard. Like us doing this and trying to like help humanity in this way, it's gonna feel hard. A lot of it could feel useless. Me and Mo, we always talk about that. Like it's like I'm putting out the good stuff, but nobody's listening. That's gonna happen probably most of our career doing this type of stuff, because that's where humanity is. Humanity didn't tell our dumbasses to pick this as a career choice. We did this. So humanity's at a place to where they don't listen to this right now. They listen to all the gold and blah 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 blah. And then so I study yogic science a lot, and what we call it is nama ropa. This world is nama ropa, which is name and form. Everything that we are saying right now, when I say Billy, that's called a name and form. But Billy knows that if I go a little bit deeper with that statement, I say, are you Billy or are you the soul, Billy? And what would Billy say?
I'm the soul.
I'm the soul. So you're
Yeah.
not the name or the form.
Yeah, I'm the soul.
So this place is nama ropa, is name and form. And once we get past that, that's when that true awakening or whatever happens, whatever you want to call it. Because now you just start interacting from that. Because I don't like all this BS that's going on. I don't like the racial thing that's coming on. If y'all see my new video on Instagram, but I talked about it. I don't appreciate the racial stuff that's going on. I don't appreciate that the economy's downfall is being blamed on a virus when the economy was already going down. I don't like that government is not taking responsibility for doing that. I don't like, I don't like a lot of this stuff. But if I let it make me not move forward, then I'm not being a gift for the world. And I don't like that more. I rather remain as my gift to the world, even though the stuff is going on, because that's more important. Like you doing this, Mo, is way more important than all the bullshit that's going on, because God didn't say you're supposed to hit 1 million people, but maybe you did touch that 2 people. And one of those two people will be the one that changed the world. And they're going to be saying, well, Master Mo did that. Sensei Mo did that. Maybe that could be the role. I don't know, because that's what I'm going through right now too. Like I speak on this stuff. Obviously, I'm going on. I'm speaking a lot on this. So I want to do a podcast. I would love to have a group of people who we can just talk like this with, as like we call them satsangs, or basically life conversations, and how we can do our own things, but keep that inclusiveness. Because Billy, once again, I love you, Billy, man, because you said it again, or I can't remember, but somebody said communism, it has that uninclusiveness in it. It does. And literally the best way to solve that is add inclusiveness to it. Say, well, I'm not going to do this rap industry. I'm not going to play basketball just to play basketball for money. I'm going to make sure that it's tied into like schools and charity and learning how to be more in tune with yourself. Because Michael Jordan, when he's on court, he goes through this mode called flow. And when Kobe's doing his thing, they all understand this thing called flow. That's spiritual. But we don't focus on that. We focus on the money and all the like sponsorships and McDonald's commercials. But if we focus on the flow state, now it's worth it. Because now we can make that into the science of sports, rather than like the science of sports is creating a business and coming up with more businesses. So it's adding that inclusiveness, that is the thing. And I think the base of it does come from our self-love. So, I think it really was corny. I don't appreciate the corniness, but I think it does come from, I think that's what everybody's going to vibe with. It's literally like, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm a Jew. But if we all love each other, I don't care what you are. Oh, I'm a Christian. But if we all love each other, right, that's the chain reaction. But if we all love each other, I don't care what you are. You can be a monkey worshiper. If we all love each other, it don't matter.
See, the reason why I look at the response to Billy is because it is such a subjective thing of how people view love and what love is. So it's always going to be, okay, let's figure out a fundamental meaning to what and how we view love. So for me, it's weird because, like I said, the things that we say and the energy we put out in the world, like for me, if I'm talking to people, I'm talking to Sarah, I'm ranting to my friends, that is what's going on in here. But the way I live, and every time I go out there and I'm around people, like I'm still the most optimistic and positive, positive person around. Like people, man, I love being around Ramone. He always having a good time. Like you don't even think anything is wrong. It's not like I'm hiding anything. It's kind of like because I see.
We're all set. Let's go.
All right, we ready? Let's go. No, so
All set. Let's go. In 100.
Kind of like my outlook on things comes down to, you know what it is? Okay, there are people who respond differently to different things. For example, let's look at somebody's body type, right? So if I could look at myself, say, Ramone, you are this, you look like this. It's not going to affect that I think I'm still the dopest person I've ever met. It's not going to affect the fact that, all right, I'm a big dude, but I ain't unhealthy. I just look at it like, okay, in order for tell myself, okay, in order to change something, I look at myself like, yo, fam, your weight, this, and this. And it's like, okay, you go from there. And it doesn't affect me. Now, other people, when they do that, it affects them negatively, right? For me, if I say, yo, people are trash, doesn't mean I treat people any different. If I say, man, this woman pissed me off, doesn't mean I treat all these women this certain way. I look at it like, hey, it's good for me to be straightforward and say, oh, that's that. Cool. I already know what not to fuck with, right? And I remember on my birthday when I posted, I brought it up because I think people responded to it pretty dope. So it was really cool that I was like, I'm positive because I believe in myself. I'm optimistic because I love myself. I'm willing to bring people together because I know myself. I trust myself because I'm loyal to what I stand for. Because of that, my confidence to do right by people comes easy. I lose sleep because there's too much going on that I'm trying to comprehend. But I sleep good at night knowing I wake up every day trying to do right by my loved ones. Like that, to me, it's like, everything around is so fucked up and it's frustrating. It's like for myself, I don't have to, like, I don't doubt myself because it's like, I know I'll be fine. And I think that I spent a long time fighting that, because it's kind of like being in a relationship. It's kind of like, look, I care and love for you, and I'm stressing myself out, or I'm doing these things because I love and care for, and I want to see you do right. But to keep it a buck with you, I really don't have to, because I'll be fine by my damn self. You know, it's kind of like that how I am with people. You know, it's like, I don't have to do that. Fam, I could literally just be peaceful and chilling, and then just be like, damn, that sucks. But man, you know, and so it's one of those things we all have to come to terms with. We all kind of fight for. I know for a long time, even before I left Milwaukee, friends was telling me, Ramone, you need more fucking in your system. And it's like, it didn't sound right to me. Like, man, I don't know, man. Like, you know, and maybe I probably have it now, but my fuck it in my system still comes off as something where the energy that I have within myself doesn't affect me, but in the same breath, like, I'm not a detriment to the people around me. And so, yeah, it's pretty dope, man. It's an interesting outlook on everything. But other than that, man, so do you, so right now, I seen something. It was like Nick Cannon. He started doing this interview with, you know, he's talking about a few things and a few people. I know Sean King. I know people view a certain way. I think every day we're kind of searching for leadership. Sometimes I feel like people don't want it as bad as they sound like they do. But I know the key thing that everybody's doing right now is talking about, all right, let's vote, right? Vote, vote, vote. And, you know, I know people are trying to be nice by saying, hey, just because I say vote, you know, I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for. I was listening to Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay, and they were talking about that. It's like, do you ever have those moments where when you want to talk about go vote, but you don't want to tell people, man, just vote for Biden, right? You just want to give people the whole idea to vote, because especially when it comes to voter suppression, there's a whole party that's not afraid to let you know, yeah, we ain't trying to get y'all to vote easily. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to put you through the bullshit in order to vote. And so what do y'all think? What is your idea of what you hope in November 4th is going to look like? This is the day after, right? The day after is going to be November 4th. What do you envision everything is going to happen? Because it's going to be interesting regardless who wins.
Well, first, I don't think that we're gonna figure out the results that quickly. I think that this election is going to drag a lot longer than November 3rd. Probably the longest dragged out election that we've ever seen in any of our lives. So I don't think we're gonna have an answer November 4th. I don't even know if we're gonna have an answer come Black Friday and Thanksgiving, to be honest with you. I think this is gonna be something that we're mulling over for a long time, and there's gonna be a lot of back and forth. So I don't know. I think that I think there's going to be a lot of tension. I think we're going to see a lot of negativity. I think that the media is about to have a field day playing on people's fear and emotions. I think that the leader that we currently have is going to continue to divide us. I think that it is going to be just chaotic, and I think that, you know, I don't think that there's leadership right now that's going to help us guide our to a safe place. So I think it's just going to be chaotic. I think it's going to be noisy, and I'm not looking forward to it. But that's what I believe.
I'm gonna just have to agree with Billy, and I want to just say one word about the leadership dividing us. I think the system is dividing us. That's the only wording, because it's easy for us to hate a person when something has been around for a while. But other than that, I think that is right on. And I don't watch politics enough to speak more than that. But I don't think me not paying attention to politics enough and me thinking that it's not going to be a decision made speaks a lot. so I don't pay attention, and I think that. But that's all I got to say about that. Because my everything for me just goes back to like I just wish people. I want us all to just realize that we could do more research, asking questions. And America, we haven't been taught that. So I'm not expecting it, because that would be my answer. But it would be a foolish answer to be like, well, after this, I want people to wake up. You know what I'm saying? That'd be crazy. But it'd be nice if people start asking questions after all this buffoonery.
So Billy, I don't know if you were talking about now, but so a few weeks ago they had that Cardi B Candace Owens debate on Twitter. And it was kind of like, okay, that was one of those things where, like, even if you was a fan and you was cheering for Cardi B, I think some people want to take a step back and put things in perspective. Like, I don't know if this is wise, right? It's kind of like, because you're kind of concerned with you having. Okay, so I enjoy the fact where it's kind of like this. How about this? Okay, how do I say this? When you were little, you 5 or 6, and you went to a family at a reunion, and the kid try to dance. You're like, go ahead and dance. Go ahead. And then the kid dancing, and it's like, oh, that's cute and fun. You cheer for that kid to do well, but you're not gonna tell that kid to be in a dance contest. You know what I'm saying? Because they might get booed on the stage in Apollo. It's kind of like, it's like, I don't know if that's the kid you want to get fully behind, because they might embarrass yourself if you try to put them in a professional dance contest. I'm not saying it on that, but it's kind of like you have that feeling where it's like, okay, I understand what y'all saying and rocking, but man, we have to tread lightly when it comes to stuff like this. And you don't want people to put themselves in a situation where, even if it's someone who be saying some wild shit, they're not that stupid to battle against somebody that they really don't think that is on their level intellectually. I guess I don't know.
Let me say this. This is where people aren't gonna love it. I'm a always, when I tell you I practice love, like I am such a positive and optimistic person that I have respect for so many different people. I have respect for Cardi B. And when people try to bring her down and try to trash her because of her background, I think it's completely uncalled for. We all have different journeys in life, and she's in a position now where she feels comfortable enough to engage in conversations with people who are probably more versed in certain things than she is. Then that's her right. Like, I will never be the person that judges and saying just because you used to be a stripper or because you do whatever you do that you can't have these conversations, because there are so many people out there who have the perspective of a Cardi B that I think it's important for her to use her platform to continue to conversate for those individuals. With that being said, I'm also on the same defense of a Candace Owens. Like, I think Candace Owens says some silly stuff. I think she says some unbelievably stupid things, and I truly believe she says some of the stupid things. But I have a respect for her, and I have a respect for her viewpoint. I think that she's a very smart, intelligent young woman, human being. I think she's smart, just like I think Cardi B is smart in her ways. But I think that we as a culture, and we as a culture are always looking for this big moment, right? We're looking for we live in such a shirts versus skins. Like, you're either with us or you're against us. And there could be nobody who talks both languages. And if they don't talk your language, you're not listening. Like, it's no, you're a racist. You're this. I don't think Candace Owens is a racist. I actually think some of the things Candace Owens has said have been similar things that Louis Farrakhan has said. Like, she's spoken some things that are really empowering, but she speaks about accountability in some ways that rub people the wrong way. But she also says some, don't get me wrong, she says some very stupid things. That her rant about George Floyd was stupid. But I think that I think that Candace Owens and Cardi B are a perfect depiction of what is wrong with America, and not for those two particular individuals themselves. I think that the fact that we can't hear people because of their opinions are what we think are different than us, or we can't hear people because of what the media has told us and what we've actually listened to ourselves, I think that is the problem. Right? Like, people, I watched this whole video, the whole video where Candace Owens was on stage with T.I., Killer Mike, and some other people in some panel. And I watched this, it was like a 2-hour thing, and I was glued to it. And people were so quick to boo Candace Owens on so many things when she was going against T.I. But I was like, Candace Owens was actually right. And then Killer Mike, who everybody loves and respects, he at one point he was like, y'all need to listen to Candace Owens. Like, she's saying some things that Farrakhan has said. But we just like to cancel people, and we don't really like to hear people. And I think that's our problem as a society. It's all groupthink. We're not really listening to what people are saying, and we're sensationalized. So that's my opinions on Cardi B and Candace Owens. I think they're both uh, um, accomplished women in their own ways, and I think that they have a lot to contribute. So that's my thoughts on that. And no hate from me for either one of them.
It's funny you say that, because I was just telling my homeboy earlier, I was like, okay, there are certain people where I feel like we put a lot of value in the things they say and always excited what they have to say, and I understand they OGs, but like sometimes I was like okay. I don't always run to go out the way to want to know what Snoop Dogg and T.I. has to say. It's weird. Like, you know what I mean? There are people that if they talking like, let me see what you talk about when it comes to like, you know, I know people like love Gucci Mane or whatever. Well, like when it comes to Rick Ross, T.I. and Snoop Dogg, I don't, you know, it's kind of like, I know they probably got some knowledge about certain things, but I'm not trying to go out the way to list it, because I feel like it's still kind of a gamble. And I feel like, man, I just want to keep things in perspective when it comes to those guys. And I feel like sometimes, you know, something Bomani Jones said, that there are people that we are glad to kind of hear and come out, but sometimes, man, we have to keep things in perspective. There's some people that we just don't need to hear. We don't always have to feel like people always, every single person has to say something, because you're going to be mighty disappointed in the type of things they're going to talk about. You know, like, at least I feel like even if people don't have to talk, just be aware and just know what's going on, but not everyone. And it's interesting you say that about Candace Owens, because I feel like, me being a Kanye West guy, I can listen to an interview, and for me, the thing, and this is why I can separate, like when I'm talking about like other people, but I can actually come to terms and say, okay, this person said some wild, like, man, why did he say that? But it's always, to me, either a method to someone's madness, or they always give a nuance and perspective when they get opportunity to give nuance and perspective. I'm like, okay, I hope people really heard what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Nick Cannon and Kanye West interview was so interesting. It seems like he was able to kind of say what he wanted to say in a way that everyone can, if you listen to it and you hear, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I understand. That's the same way I can say, even the last couple albums, people like, I don't really like it. I think they don't. I think what Kanye West's downfall, and this is before the TMZ thing. People started having strong opinions about Kanye West because he started dating a Kardashian, and ever since then, people just kind of blur.
And don't get me wrong, should Cardi B be your source? Should Candace Owens be your source of information for certain topics? Probably not. Like they're not. They probably shouldn't be your source of political guidance. However, they have every right. They're no different than you and I. They have every right to speak on it. Now, the problem with America and the problem with us as a people is everybody who speaks on it is we think of them, if we like them, they are our source. But we don't really do enough to say, what gives this person, like, why I'm listening, but why am I taking this person's word as gospel for this? And that's where, you know, this is another example. Bill Cosby, I'm gonna say this, a creep of a man, right? Like, he did some things in his past that weren't right. So check. But something happened with us that since Bill Cosby's a creep, Cliff Huxtable is also a creep. Like, we can't, like, we're like, what are we doing? Like, can we learn how to separate? Like, I don't know. We judge people on our emotions, and like, it's just, to me, and that was kind of left field where I went there. But, and I understand that that's left field, but to me, we have a hard time separating things. Like as a people, like, it's like, you're either in or you're out. It's like, we got to learn to separate.
Well, so people don't nuance. There's always a perspective. There's always a nuance. So it's part of the reason why I started this podcast, because I see, fam, even if you talk about the Bucks, man, Giannis is trash. No, this is what Giannis needs to do. This is the perspective of Giannis as a player. That's what we're dealing with. This is part of the reason why I started this, is instead of if that person's trash, it's not like we're going to sit here and say, I'm trying to protect the person and say they're not trash. You're saying, okay, think about this from this standpoint, why I can't agree with you, but you're just saying this, but I want you to understand why I see it from this standpoint. And I think,
so let me ask you this question. You don't like Bill Cosby because he did these things to these women, which he's serving his time. The man is locked up. He's in jail. Check. He's guilty. So now, if you watch the Cosby Show, now you're also like, people look at you. Are you kidding me? Didn't you hear what Bill Cosby did? Like, wait. These are separate things. Can we be? I don't know. It's just,
see, for me,
we're in a weird place.
I'm not emotionally attached to
It sounds like Billy. It sounds like can we separate the spirit of a person from the career of a person, because that's the way we were created, as a society, period. Because I feel you, like I will always love family, like our the Bill Cosby Show, because of the art of the Cosby Show. Bill Cosby as a person, now we got a debate on like his decision makings. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's spiritually, I don't know, like maybe I don't like him spiritually, but as a career person, maybe. But so now where that gets funny is it's like when R. Kelly first got accused back in the day, when people started breaking his CDs.
Yeah.
You know, people still like them. People broke his CDs. It's like, how far do we judge the whole idea of a person for something that is flawed in all of us, which is the ability to have a flaw?
Well, the problem, everything we're saying, we are going to be very nuanced in that, but I think that for these two examples, because I'm not going to challenge what I'm saying, but these two examples, the thing that they have that's purely against them is you have an abundance of people. You have a large population of people, which is disenfranchised, of people who are triggered because of things like this, right? So for us being young men, remember, we're talking about R. Kelly with young women. We're talking about Bill Cosby with women, right? So if, for people who are triggered, it's kind of like, hypothetically, I hate to say this because, oh my God, it's giving too much leeway of example. Police. Us three can deal with the police certain way. I'm like, man, fuck that shit. This will happen. But then a situation happened and somebody's trying to give us a nuanced idea about, hey, this officer did all this, but he's a police officer, but this and this and this. Like, no, fuck that, because in 1997,
right, so,
you know what I mean? And so think about that from a standpoint where maybe people are so triggered when they're thinking about, and this is unfortunate too, but people think about what R. Kelly and all the shit he's able to get with, and Bill Cosby, all the things he did. And so people are using more of the triggers and then start going to other things. And we're kind of like, hey, I understand what you're saying, but remember, Bill Cosby show was so great. He trashed, but the show great. People get to the point where I don't give a fuck about him or the show. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, see, here's why I like what you're saying, Mo, is because I think you're completely right. And that's why if I was running it from the beginning, or if I was in the industry, they just wouldn't have had a long career.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I was saying. If we add spiritual to our career, they wouldn't have been known today.
Yeah.
I'm saying because that's the way we were fucking created. Humans created society. Humans made the entertainment industry the way it is. Not godly spirits. So what I'm saying is, because that's the way it is, like I don't like it. It makes my taste buds feel weird saying that I want to still like the Bill Cosby Show. I'm saying, but if I was in there from the beginning, I would have just seen it, and you wouldn't have known who the fuck Bill Cosby was.
Because die a hero or live long enough to be a villain. Like that's die, like it's the I think this is where I'm getting with all this, and I think I've uncovered it for myself. No, it's not gonna be groundbreaking news for you too. Our problem is this: we are led by emotion, and we're no longer led by content and fact. We're led by emotion and not by content and fact. And I think social media is increasingly leading us by emotion. Nobody cares about facts because facts are now perspective. Like that's what it's almost like facts are becoming just a myth. Like nobody's like, hey, what really did happen? Even when you read an article, Like articles aren't fact-based. Nobody's writing articles on facts. You watch the Bill Cosby show with somebody who hates Bill Cosby, and you can sit down with them and you can say, listen, that's Heathcliff Huxtable played by Bill Cosby. Let's take out the emotion. Is this a good episode? Just don't even think about Bill Cosby. Just tell me, watch this. Is this a good episode? And I would say a large part of our population couldn't get past that. That's Bill Cosby. They no, this is a bad episode. This is a horrible episode because he abused women. I think like we're so led by that emotion now that we're in a dangerous place. And emotion is right now, your emotion can change. People like I can give you a certain emotion, and people are your emotion is being controlled by whoever's writing the last article. That's your emotion is being controlled.
That's funny. I'm sorry. That's well said.
That's where I think we're at.
That's well said. I've seen a quote on something. I posted in one of these videos I recently posted, but it was like Robert Nixon or some CIA, somebody in the government. It was like I think it was Robert Nixon. Americans won't believe anything unless it's on TV. And you just said whoever wrote the last story, and that's where we are. It's crazy.
That's why I think you see so many things now where it's like, you know, people just think that, well, it is true. Like you see, people can be, as I say, easily manipulated into thinking a certain way, right? And like I said, this is part of the reason why I started doing this is like, you know, I feel like I hear a lot of shit people saying, like, I understand you saying, you know, remind me of, remember, did you ever see when it was Anthony and Opie with Patrice O'Neal. Patrice O'Neal was on Fox News. He was going against that woman because they had a joke about Michelle Obama, right? And Patrice O'Neal was protecting the idea of jokes. Jokes come from the same place, but there's some jokes that are going to end up bad and some jokes end up good. And it was like, oh, do you know good, rape jokes? And it's like, yeah, I've heard some, and it was kind of like the woman that was there. He was like, you hear what she's saying? She's saying that because she has to say that, but she don't believe what she's saying. You know what I mean? And it's like, you always wonder what people is like, you're saying that, but do you believe what you're saying? Like you said, Billy, you have somebody watch this. And that's how I felt about when it comes to Ye's albums recently. Like people might look at, well, this album made me feel this way. Yo, Blue, remember we was in high school and we downloaded off of, I forgot what website it was. We downloaded the first 20 seconds or 30 seconds because it was on a preview of Jesus Walks. We was at the crib and lost our fucking minds, fam. Like, I understand like how dope it was. Like, yo, what the fuck is it? It was like, yo, what the fuck? So, but people say, man, I can't believe this because this meant this to me. And it's like, I've never felt that way. Like, I just really enjoy his creativity, his mind, his outlook. And so I can listen to the Ye album. I try to tell people, like, yo, that album is actually a lot. The beats and producer is better than y'all think. It's now because of where y'all think he is and who he is now. Y'all think, oh, that was a bad album. He hasn't had a good album in 10 years. I think Yeezus was a good album. Why? Because if you're looking at Yeezus and when he made the album because he wasn't in America when he made the album, you listen to the sounds and then where music is now, it's kind of like, oh shit, that was kind of ahead. But at the time when it happened, it was like, and to me, that's my problem in general with people. So same thing y'all saying, but also we come to realize people have made exceptions for a lot of their favorite artists. So as we're talking about Bill Cosby and we're talking about R. Kelly, James Brown's history. You look at a few other people's history and some of the things they've done. It's kind of like everyone has made an exception for who they like and what they're willing to accept the things they've done, and they kind of go from there.
Not to give it an excuse, like I don't want anybody to misconstrue.
Oh yeah,
nobody on this call is validating Bill Cosby or R. Kelly. But what we're just trying to say is, at what point can we separate the art from the person, right? At what point can we think not even think for ourselves, because that's a different part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But like we have to be able to separate the art from the person, and we can't just be selectively mad about certain things. Like let's be consistent. And sometimes our emotion is really just based on the last person who wrote the article, like we said already. And I think until we can get away from that place, then God help us. Oh, hey, I think I might have lost you too, but I'm about to jump off. I've got to go. I haven't eaten yet, but it's always, hey, I love both of you brothers. Like I learn a lot on these calls. This is definitely therapy for me. I can't wait till the next time we connect. Peace and love.
Peace, Billy. Okay, yeah, I think we about to.
I have a guest staying in my living room.
Okay, we just